Hey there, YouTube friends. So, had a cool little project I knocked out this weekend. I thought about getting the camera out, but there was an awful lot going on. My dad came out and helped me a little bit the one day, but it was definitely a lot of work getting some of these up there and stuff. So it's just like trying to get the camera set up and get the angle right and all of that. Just sounded a little bit hard, and I've seen too many horror stories on other channels where people talk about when they post building stuff, and you are posting on the internet, so you open that whole can of worms, which wouldn't be from your regular viewers, but all it takes is one idiot, right? And the internet, we all know the internet's full of them. But so here we go. Finally got the roof up over, well, the structure. I plan on putting either inch or inch and a half cedar all the way across on the top there. Then I have some old reclaimed tin from a barn, which it's nice. You could do plywood, but when you got a sawmill, why buy plywood? Plywood, they want like 2 pints of blood and one major limb. And I like the price of free 99 better. You sweat for it. So put that down, and the beauty of that when you're reusing the tin is then if there's an old nail hole in there, well, you just put a screw there. If they ripped it out a little bit, you just shoot a little wet patch in there and put a screw in there. So works out kind of nice. So what we got here is we got 6x6s. So we got a total of 6 true 6x6 beams right here. The front of this is the posts are 12 feet tall, so that 16-foot 6x6 up top there is the bottom of it is sitting at 12 feet and the back is 9 foot, so it has a nice pitch, so it'll shed the rain and the snow. But then I have this opening here that's I think it's about 15 foot, so I can get the forklift or whatever in here to load. And then there was a couple ways I thought about doing this, because obviously the first part of the sawmill to here is virtually unusable. You got to park the sawmill head somewhere. So I thought about putting a post coming in 4 feet, putting a post so I was more centered on my 16-foot lumber or 16-foot logs if I want to do those. But most of what I do is 6 foot and 8 foot on the cedar, and I'll do some 8 and 10 on the fir. So what I'm using is I'm using that bunk that's right under there, these two, or I'm using these two and that bunk there by the 4x4, so I can get straight into those for 90% of what I mill. And I can do 16.5 foot, and since I've owned this mill, I've milled 16.5 foot twice. Once shortly after I got it, and once to make the last few beams here. So I can still get 16 foot on there. If I back in with the forklift, I can kind of swing it in here, or I just come in at an angle. And what I'm kind of thinking is down here off the end, I'll mill up another 6x6, and I'll bury it about 4 foot in the ground and leave 3 or 4 foot poking out, and I can put a strap on it, and I can either use a winch on the truck or I come along and drag it right in there, because I don't do those that often. So I figured this structure is going to be the easiest, but also the strongest. It has the least amount of joints in it, and it's going to cater to what 95% of what I mill is. So I can put a little extra work in when I want to do a 16 footer, but even at a 12 foot, I could probably come in at a slight angle and get a 12 foot on there, no problem with the forklift. But they slide easy enough on the fork. So even if I just came in at a slight angle just inside the posts here and then just pushed it, they push easy enough on the forks. So that's what we got there. And then I Got the 2x6s, so they're on 2-foot center. And then I wanted my last 7-8 inches there, so they're a little closer on the end. But I also put 3 6x6s up there, so that way, like, if for some reason the forklift isn't here, or you know, like it's broke down, or I need to get gravel in here, but even with gravel it might spin out, I can hang a strap up there is my plan, and I can use either a winch or a come along or whatever. And there'd be times where that'd be kind of nice to have a come along on some of these big logs to help roll it, which you could bring your machine in and do it, but it'd be easier to do it with a come along. Or I know I got a 1-ton chain hoist that would do a fair amount of that. You dry, you know, hammer a hook in there and then just lift up on it and it'll roll it right over for you. So, you know, I plan on also running a 2x6 end cap across all the trusses there, or whatever you want to call them. So the total dimensions we have here are, from post to post lengthwise, we're 23.6 with a little overhang on each one. So the roof itself is, I think, 24.6, and then width wise we're 10 foot inside to inside on the 6x6s. So I think that was like 12.5 or 13 foot up top, you know, so a nice wide. If you you know, I got room back here. I'm going to build I got to get all this sawdust cleaned up out of here, and then once I do that, I'm going to build a little like 5-foot wall back here, so the sawdust all builds up right there and it's undercover. So at that point I can either shovel it, or I could use my dust collector and vacuum it out of there and get the sawdust out that way. And then on this end, how I came up with the width is, you know, you got to have room to get equipment in, so you don't want it super wide. I'm also limited on the lumber length I had, and then the salvage tin, but I got plenty of room that I can walk down in here while milling and not hit any of these posts. So, and then all these posts are buried 3.5 to 4 feet in the ground, so they're in there plenty deep. And then I took some offcuts from the back end, and even these ones had a little bit of offcut, not much, but I also had a few extra 6x6s laying around and cut the supports for the posts and got them up there. So that's been this weekend's project. You know, when we lifted these big 16-foot beams were lifted up with the forklift, but these 12.5 foot or whatever 6x6s there were shoved up there by hand. So that was an adventure. So thanks for watching.